James Gorey here. Thanks for stopping by, visiting my YouTube channel. And I imagine you got here through the Epic Times or via my website, The Banana Republican, which is a website I have written on in the past, but I haven't blogged it for a while. But I think this is going to be part of the resurrection of that. So thanks for stopping by. Just want to talk quickly about my latest article at the Epic Times, which is Green China Runs on Dirty Coal. So if you haven't read the article, please do, but this is just a brief overview. The bottom line here, the essentials here is that China is, on the one hand, the world's top manufacturer for green technology. Solar, wind, the big propellers and solar panels, so wind generators, solar panels, and of course the batteries to store that power. So China is an innovator. They have tremendous amounts of capabilities, capacity to produce these things, and they compete with other countries and and they're the world leader. They produce it, and they also use it. They're the top green producer and the top green user in the world, and they have the capacity, the renewable capacity. I use that word loosely, but they have the renewable energy capacity right now that parallels Turkey or Poland, for that matter. So very considerable power, very considerable footprint in the renewable energy sector. Now, one of the problems that they do have is that they produce it and subsidize it so that they can sell it basically less than it costs, and they can undercut everybody else, other green technology companies in the West, in Europe and US. So people don't like that. It's called dumping, and there's a lot of tension around that. So China has to deal with that, and China's in a bad way right now. Just from a general perspective, they're in a difficult spot, and it's getting worse. So even though they're a leader in technology for green renewable technology, it's not enough to offset other things that are going on. Their trade with the U.S. is declining. The trade with Europe is declining. Internal demand, consumer demand, domestic demand is declining. Direct foreign investment is crashing. Capital is leaving the country, and the companies are leaving China. They're moving their factories out. Big companies like Samsung, Apple, Dell, Nike, Hasbro, and many, many others. They're looking elsewhere to move their companies. Places like Taiwan, and India, Vietnam, and Turkey, Mexico. It's called friendshoring because China is so dangerous and so anti-foreign company in terms of IP, in terms of securing intellectual property, stealing products, stealing factories, stealing everything basically. Okay, so that's what's going on with China. So even though they're the leader in green technology, which I'll get back to the main point here, even though they're the leader in green technology and are the leaders in producing green technology energy, at the same time, the big news here, the big piece of information here is that China is the world's top coal producer and coal consumer and carbon emissions creator. And that's not going to change. Now, the thing is, the thinking in the West is, we've got to become more green and detach from coal and detach from even nuclear and get this green energy going, right? So we can be carbon neutral. And China has in fact said, look, we're going to be carbon neutral by 2030, maybe 2060. Some have even said 2025. Well, look, none of that's going to happen. The fact is that China is building just, another 100 or so coal plants, as many coal plants as they can. They're building new ones, they're reactivating ones they've given up on or stopped building, and they're building more plants and digging more coal than they have in the past 10 years. Not since 2015 have they done this. Now, why is it? If they're, on the one hand, if their trajectory is green, 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 then why are they doing huge records amounts of coal production and coal-fired energy plants? The reality is that they understand they're energy insecure. And renewables do not provide energy security. They provide energy at times, but they're weather dependent and they're low energy intensity. Basically, that means you've got to have a lot of solar panels to compete with one coal factory. And solar panels are going to go offline. I mean, we saw in Texas last year, the year before, $1 billion solar farm in somewhere in West Texas was completely destroyed by a hailstorm. Gone, done. So you have $1 billion and you got no energy, right? So China knows that. They know what's going on, and they know that renewable energies, whether it's wind or solar, are typically very, very low density. Hydroelectric power is much more reliable, but in terms of the quote unquote renewables in solar and wind, not so much. And that presents another problem, is that um, the reality is that because they're so low intensity, so much more has to be produced. More metal, more plastic, more oil, more lithium battery, more all those kind of rare earths. And to meet the demand that's an environmental disaster. It's not renewable as people think it is, because all these quote unquote renewable infrastructures are built with non-renewable sources. After their working life runs out, they really can't be recycled economically, especially the batteries, but other pieces too, not economically. And so you're left with this huge demand of creating more, digging in the ground for all these the oil, the silicon, the steel, whatever it might be, the lithium, the rare earths. You got to get that out of the ground, and you got to get a lot more out of the ground because of the low energy intensity. So on the one hand, you've got all this going on that sounds renewable. Oh, it's the sun shines, the wind blows. Yeah, but to capture it takes a lot more. It's a lot more than just the sun and the wind, sunshine and the wind blowing. So that's the problem. And the Chinese know this. So they're selling the green energy story to the West. Meanwhile, they're building as many coal plants as they can build, and as fast as they can build them. So if you want to learn more, check out my article at the Epoch Times. It's the latest one. And thanks for checking us out here on our podcast and my YouTube channel. My name is James Gorey. Give me a subscribe if you would, a thumbs up, and or a comment, or all of the above. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.